Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back, everybody. I thought about this, and it kind of amazes me. Out of all the podcasts I've ever done, they have touched upon cancer from time to time. However, I've never done one with someone that really gets to the basics of cancer. We hear the word, and many of us are affected by it, maybe family members, but what exactly is going on, and what can we do to prevent it? Knowing what's happening can help us in the prevention as well. She is a doctor of naturopathy, certified body talk trainer and practitioner, certified nutritional counselor, master herbalist, and she is Dr. Jacquilen Tomas Ali, ND, back with us. How are you doing today?
I am fantabulous. How are you doing today?
Really good. And
all right.
Happy that we're talking about this, because we can't assume that everybody knows the basics when it comes to cancer. And it's so important, so prominent in our lives nowadays that, let's get it out there. Before we do, we're going to get this out there. A little disclaimer, if you will. The information shared is provided as an information resource only and is not to be used or relied on for any diagnostic or treatment purposes. This information does not create or any client-physician relationship and should not be used as a substitute for professional diagnostic or treatment purposes. Please consult your healthcare provider before making any healthcare decisions or for guidance about a specific medical condition. Podcast Business News Network and Dr. Jacquilen Tomas Ali, ND, owner of Earthly Essence, expresses disclaims responsibility and shall have no liability for any damages, loss, injury, or liability whatsoever. Just had to do that. Just had to get that out there. All right.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
So we move on here to the basics about cancer, the prevention, the healing thereof. Let's go to the basics. What is when somebody is diagnosed with cancer? What is actually going on there?
Excellent question. In other words, what is cancer? Because we just know it as, oh my God, I got this. But what cancer is abnormal cells divide without control, and they are able to invade other tissues in the body. And that's what causes the problem. The cancer begins in the cells, and the cells is the basic unit of life in our body. And then the cancer cells will spread through the body by way of the lymphatic system and the blood. And before I go into it further, not only am I speaking of this from the research that I've done. In fact, a few years back, I did a presentation, an open presentation about this. I also had three members of my family experience cancer: my mother, my father, and my husband. My mother had colon cancer, or was diagnosed with colon cancer. My father was diagnosed with lung cancer, and my husband was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And as I go through the information, I'll reference them, but also share what I observed, and the fact that I also made the determination based on observations and studies and things like that, that it ain't coming this way. Okay.
Wow. I want to share with you, if I may. I don't think I ever told you this, but it was only, and I'm going to get accurate here, 60 days ago, I was told I have stage 3.
Wow.
However, advanced skin cancer came out of nowhere. A tumor on my neck, the size of nothing. Like it was just a scratch. What's that? In 10 weeks, it grew to the size of a quarter.
Wow.
10 weeks.
Yeah.
Am I getting up? And they told me that it looks like it's stage 3. My gut told me, I don't know about that. Consulted another doctor, always get a second opinion. What it turned out to be, yes, it was skin cancer, had it removed, all good. However, the stage 3 they thought was because, and stage 3 would have, and I'm bringing this up because you mentioned lymphatic system.
Yes.
If it went in, it would have been stage 3. It was just inflammation of the lymph node next to the tumor. So it wasn't stage 3. And they just removed it with surgery and all good. But, it was for that moment, a day or so, I was like, oh boy. We have a problem here.
Exactly. Yeah. Because, and that's a common reaction, because people they get very nervous with that diagnosis. And it's It's understandable because the diagnosis of cancer is the number 2 cause of death in the United States. Number 1 is heart disease, but it's number 2. And the most common cancers, not to say that this is it because you've shared your experience, but the most common ones for women is breast cancer, for men, prostate cancer, lung cancer, as well as colon or rectal cancer as being the most common diagnoses.
Gotcha. I wonder about genetics. How much of that has a play in cancer?
You know what? That's a great question. That is a great, great question. Because many people think that if my mother had it, my father had it, my cousin, my uncle, then I'm going to get it. If you do exactly what they do, the possibility is very great. However, the genes in our body, let me rephrase this. There is like a 1% to 5% chance that it will be genetic. The genes in our body does have a factor in what happens and the health of our body. But there's a lady that it was a very strong mentor for me during that process. Her name is Susan Silberstein, and she set up an organization called beatcancer.org. And I'll go into that a little bit more. She said that the genes may have loaded, and this is a quote, the genes may have loaded the gun. However, your lifestyle pulls the trigger.
Interesting, because in my skin cancer, and I've had other skin for decades, just get this removed here, whatever. My mom, my dad, and my aunt on my mom's side all had it. But, and I'm thinking, okay, genetics play a big role. Hearing this is a game changer. I have a twin sister.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
I'm the smarter one. Just kidding. Actually, I'm older. I'm older by 15 minutes. She doesn't have skin cancer. And when you talk about environmental factors, I spent a lot of time in the sun in my 20s and my 30s and on up. So there it is. The gun might have been loaded genetically, maybe at the 1 to 5%. But I pulled the trigger by being in the sun. You're young. It's
a factor, but it may not necessarily have been the total cause. And because the mindset also has an influence on it. So where the mind goes, cancer will follow. For example, breast cancer. With women, there's some type of woman feeling emotionally unavailable to men, whether that man is their father, their husband, brother, etc. Prostate cancer, a lack of nurturing from a female, such as mother, wife, sister. Colon cancer, repressed anger and rage since childhood. And I was able to see that specifically with my mother, because one of the things that she would do was whenever I would call, because I would call her pretty much every day, just to check in, see how you're doing, even before she was diagnosed. And she would talk about things that angered and frustrated her from years ago, from her childhood, from years ago. And it had gotten to the point where I had to let her know that this is not comfortable for me. And if this is the kind of conversation you're going to have, I'm going to lessen my phone calls or shorten them because of the nature of the anger and the rage that she was expressing. Kidney, it's involving fear, deep patterns of worry, and fear of failure. Cervical cancer, negative feelings about sexual experiences such as rape and sexual abuse. Ovarian cancer, feeling swept under the rug. Mothering issues, throat cancer, stifled in self-expression. Lung cancer, inability to have control over other people's grief. And then bone cancer, deep, deep repressed grief. I want to go back to, let me hit on the lung cancer because my father was diagnosed with lung cancer. And there was that, he did have that feeling, or he tried to cover it up. But there was definitely an inability of control over people's grief. But he also worked at a location where there was a lot of asbestos. And it was at a time when asbestos controls and laws and things were not in place. And he was a cigarette smoker, a heavy cigarette smoker. And we're talking about non-filtered cigarettes. So all of those things had a compound effect on his lungs.
It's almost like, I just want to interject here.
Sure,
Dr. Jackie, it's almost like in his situation, it sounds almost like the perfect storm. So,
yes.
He not having control over others' grief. So what does that mean? He takes it inside. It eats away at him or anybody in that situation. I'm going to say he's very empathetic.
Yes.
He wears his heart on his sleeve. He cares.
Yes. Now, as much as he tried to be, no, you can still see it.
Yeah, he's a softie at heart.
Yeah.
So now you take, smoking, and then you take the environment where he worked. If it was just one of those things, you could have gotten lung cancer, sure, but you add those all up, and it just seems like, what they call the perfect storm going on. Then you have people that, for example, Christopher Reeve, Superman, his wife, Dana, passed away from lung cancer shortly after he had, if I remember correctly, passed away. And if you remember, he was paralyzed from a horse accident back in the day.
Right, yes.
She didn't smoke. Out of nowhere, she got lung cancer. But I wonder if we went deeper into it, what other factors, whether they're environmental, whether they're grief-related. Maybe the grief-related was over her husband.
Right.
Maybe.
Because, we don't know the daily, day by day, intricate details that a person is experiencing, feeling, and all of that. We just know when it comes to someone who's in the public eye, we just know what information we're fed, what we're given. And, as much as they try to maintain a level of privacy, there are still factors that will come out and be shared. But I'm sure there were things going on that were private from the public, involving not just her husband, but some other things that may have been going on that we're just not aware of. Now, it's interesting that you bring that analogy, that point, because I want to take it back and include the prostate cancer, because I mentioned earlier that my husband had prostate cancer, and I was his second wife. His first wife transitioned long before he and I came together, and she had lung cancer. So, and I never really, sometimes he would want to talk about it, but he talked about it to the point of that they did certain things to try and mend and put the relationship back together, in terms of going through a second marriage ritual. However, she still transitioned from lung cancer. And then consequently, he had a prostate cancer. And again, lack of nurturing from a female. But let me also add this piece in terms of the environmental. He worked in the automotive industry, where they would put vehicles together, and in doing that, he also was exposed to, guess what? Asbestos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he was very he was very open, upright, paramount. It wasn't something that he just talked about all the time and all of that. No, but he wasn't secretive, but he also did his best to try to have our marriage be the best that it could under the circumstances. And I am truly, truly grateful for that.
Wow.
Truly grateful.
Learning a lot here today. I'm still processing the genetic factor in cancer only being 1 to 5%. Wow. I would think that number would be minimum 15%.
Right.
20%, something around that. Wow.
Now, you know what? What I'll do is I'll make a note and I will go back and double check.
Oh, I'm not disputing it. I'm just surprised.
Because it might be the source of where I got that I might need to review it more.
But I've often heard everything, we use the word genetic and we ride on it. Well, it's in my family and everything. I've heard other numbers too, where they're much lower than what would expect. Other medical issues, mental issues, whatever it might be. We all put a lot of weight on genetics, but apparently it's not.
Yes. Well, it has a factor, but it is not the total thing.
Sure.
Other factors that will assist in cancer cells growing is what we feed ourselves, whether it's sugars, fats, produce that's grown with pesticides, hence, the need for organics, and an acid environment in the body, and that's what sugars and fats produce, an acidic environment rather than an alkaline environment, and lack of oxygen. And lack of oxygen has a lot to do with, guess what?
Cancer.
Well, when a person does not have oxygen in their body, what is it that they may not be doing? Let me reword it. You want me to share?
Rebuilding cells?
Then they probably are not exercising.
Okay.
Because that's what brings the oxygen in. So one of the key ways, and we'll talk about this more because there's definitely going to be a part 2 follow-up. But there are certain things that a person diagnosed with cancer can consider in terms of their lifestyle, in terms of therapeutic massage, taking up yoga, Tai Chi, Pilates, and there are other things, and we'll get into that more when we do part 2.
Well,
But
we talk about the things you feed yourself, like sugar.
yeah,
Sugar, in my understanding, the number one culprit for inflammation. It's
yes,
in our bodies. Inflammation is
yes,
bad. Hey, what did I say before? I thought I had stage 3 because it was in inflammation. I know what it came from. I had like a weird virus like a few months before.
right,
Wasn't
okay,
wasn't COVID, wasn't flu, and that created an inflammation. But
yeah,
things like sugar create inflammation as well. We may not
yeah.
see it immediately, but it's going on in the inside.
And it's interesting that you mentioned viruses, because there are viruses in the air all the time. Even though we may not have a name to them, does not mean that they're not there. And they have their season of thriving, as well as their season of dying off. And because we are made aware of certain viruses, many times people think that those are the only ones, but they're called that because of the research that has been done in medical facilities, as well as pharmaceutical industries. But know that there are many viruses that just don't have a name, but they're out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
They
my
do.
gosh. Even in this past couple of months, there's been so many things I've been hearing people coming down with that just look weird out of
Yes.
nowhere.
Yes.
Lot of great insight here.
Yes.
And even you really did go deep, Dr. Jackie, in terms of the lifestyle situations that can help cancer follow the mind and what we may be going through and not even realizing it. And again,
Yes.
it it it's not just that, but it could be that plus this plus that, all these and maybe
Right.
genetics.
It's not a one thing.
Right.
It's several things.
Wow.
However, when we are given that diagnosis, with and I'm going to share this because of my experiences working in the pharmaceutical industry. Long before I was diagnosed, I got my degree as a naturopath, working in the pharmaceutical industry, as well as working in the healthcare field. That they truly, when that diagnosis comes up, they look at their how can I put this? They make the decision as to what to offer the person in one of two categories: either surgery, if appropriate, or chemotherapy, radiation.
Yep.
And it's up to the person to decide what they want to do. But many times a person, when they get that diagnosis, they are scared. It's very distressful. So when we get together again, I am going to share some steps, some other things that a person may consider doing and including, regardless of the types of diagnosis that they may have received
Sure.
in terms of cancer.
Knowledge is power. Learned a lot
Yes,
today. Got to tell you.
thank you.
That second opinion, if you're ever in that situation, get one.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
it's. I think somebody said to
yes,
me decades ago, "You are your own health advocate." Yeah,
yes,
nobody else is
and
going to care like you do.
yes. And one of the things that I'll share in the next one is the organization beatcancer.org, which was really helpful for me to understand the whole process, and that people they assist people in understanding how things work, their decisions, their choices. But I'll get into that more, as well as even if a person just wants to do things on their own,
Sure.
they can do that.
And you can also start charting a course of better health through herbals,
Yes.
nutritional counseling. Certainly, a lot of the things mind connected that you were describing before, you can help somebody with as a certified body talk practitioner.
Yes.
And everything else you offer, Doctor of Naturopathy.
Yes.
What's your website?
earthlyessence.life. Life. earthlyessence.life.
Awesome talking with you today, Dr. Jackie. Thanks for all the info, the insight, and part two coming next time we get together.
Absolutely. I'm truly grateful. Thank you.
Likewise. We'll be right back. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, you know? I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.